This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs the Playbook, and I'm so excited because I have Jeff Griffin, entrepreneur, author, and CEO of Griffin Motivation, and that's at griffinmotivation.com. Most of his friends call him Griff, and I'm going to take the liberty of calling him Griff during the interview because since the day that I met you, I felt as if we were soulmates, not just friends, that we had lived past lives together. Our journeys, although very different, I think the inspiration behind our journeys are very similar. And Jeff, you're sitting there. Some people may be able to tell. Obviously, in audio, they can't. You're in a wheelchair.
Yes.
And that wheelchair, could be an albatross. It could be an anchor. It seems to me, as I get to know you, it's really your wings. And it had that wheelchair you've allowed to lift you to levels that most people didn't think were possible. In fact, you wrote a book called Impossible.
Yeah, in fact, it's called I'm Possible, right? A lot of
Even
people
better, right? Yeah, good. Thank
even
you.
better. Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of people see that. They're like, hey, he's the author of Impossible. I'm like, close. I'm Possible. Absolutely.
And I love making mistakes because then it really reiterates how important it is, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm possible. And, I am is one of the biggest things in my life.
Yes.
Let's get a little bit, into your background, though.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you, how did you end up in a wheelchair?
So I wasn't always in a wheelchair.
Okay.
I wasn't always in a wheelchair, but I can honestly say, Dave, that I'm grateful to be in a wheelchair. Dissatisfied, but grateful.
Great distinction.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge distinction. And so I'm grateful. It's taken me everywhere. It really has. It's taken me around the world. When I was a little kid, I wanted to play on the big stage. I wanted to play on the big stage. I wanted to play football in college. And everyone just told me, like, Griff, you can't play football in college. You're too short, you're too slow, you're too white. And I'm like, okay, I get that. I'm short, I'm slow, and I'm white. But I can work on 2 out of the 3. Right? And so I just had this dream, and that was my passion. I love playing football. And so when people find out that I'm in a wheelchair and I love playing football, like they have wheelchair football.
Right.
I'm like, I wasn't
when
always
I
in a
met you,
wheelchair.
I thought, he was paralyzed playing football.
Yeah.
Right. I thought, he got hit and was paralyzed playing football, but that's really not happened. Did you ever get to play college football?
I did. I did actually. In fact, I chased down my dream and continued to do what I could do. And I always tell my audiences, I'm like, there's 1 or 2 things you can focus on. You can focus on what you can do, or you can focus on what you can't do. And I could focus on that I was too short, or I was too slow, or I was too white, or all these other reasons, right? As human beings, we base other people's possibilities on our limitations, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And most of us reject what we don't understand, and we base our possibilities on what we know. And so there's the paradox. And so I just continued to chase down my dream. And then one day, my senior year, I went inside, and there's a letter from the legendary Hall of Fame coach Lavelle Edwards inviting me, the short, slow white guy, to his school. Now
to play football.
To play football.
Yeah.
And somebody called me out on one time, like, hey, everyone at BYU is short, slow, and white.
I love that.
And I'm like, hey, they still have a national championship.
And you quit football, actually.
I know, I did, right?
I heard that today, and I'm like, wait a second. My man quit football?
Yeah.
So you made it to BYU, and you're on the team.
Yeah.
Why would you quit?
Right? You're like, why do you get to the point where you want to be, and then you just hang it up, and you're like, you walk away from it. And the beauty of it is, too, I also want to let your listeners understand as well that I took a 2-year break, and I discovered what I call the P-squared mindset.
Yes.
The P-squared mindset, which helps you develop your dream and match it up with your desire, right? It's crucial part of a P-squared mindset. Another part is to give yourself permission to fail, like we talked about before. Another one is to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because it's in the discomfort, it's in the struggle that we find the strength, and that's when we're stretched, and that's when we grow. You're working out, right?
Yeah.
And you're starting to grow. You've been stretched and everything, and you're like, man, this doesn't make sense. But there's the paradox as well. And so another part of the P-squared mindset is this idea of, I'm going to focus on the process and not the promise, because it's the process that helps us progress, not the promise. But so often we focus on the promise and we abort the process. And then the last one, which is my favorite part of the P-squared mindset, is hope. You got to have hope. And the beauty of this is, for me, the definition of hope is the ability to reach out to the future and grab onto your dreams and bring it back to the present in spite of your past.
It seems like to me, as you articulate very strong philosophies that are in the I'm Possible book, that, like me, we were unconscious about these philosophies when we were playing football. A lot of the things that you're explaining, I know to make it to BYU, and although you quit, you actually got to play, which was your dream. You got 2 plays. You were Rudy.
Yeah.
You told me you were
The Rudy of BYU.
You were the Rudy of BYU, but you even had your 2 roommates cheering Rudy when you were playing. And to you, it was the ultimate, experience. But moreover, we're going to get to the fact that you're in a wheelchair, but yeah, you played football at BYU. You weren't paralyzed playing football, but these philosophies were ingrained. They were part of your quantum memory almost. To make it to BYU, being slow, white, and not that good.
Yeah.
But to make it that far is an extraordinary accomplishment. It's pursuing your potential. How is it that these types of philosophies, feelings, inspirations lie dormant until something happens? And I'm going to allow you to kind of share with us what happened. How'd you end up from the fields of BYU into a wheelchair?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, what was interesting, right, it was because I share this experience that I did quit. And you brought it up as well, because I go out and I tell people, don't quit. The opposite of success is to not quit. Right. And here I am.
But it's not in your personality. That, even to make it to BYU, if you were a quitter, you would have never been able to get that letter from Lavelle Edwards.
Yeah.
Quitters don't get those.
And the steps I took to even get recognized, right? I'm like, I had this conscious decision. I'm going to go to their camp. I'm going to do some other things to be recognized. And so I was doing some things that I needed to do to be recognized and have that success. But at the same time, I still didn't understand the demons that rear their heads, the demons of doubt, the demons of fear, the demons of complacency, right? And the demons of just this pushback. Whenever we go do something new, there's going to be pushback, and I wasn't prepared for the pushback. I made it to my dream. I made it to campus, and I wasn't prepared for the pushback. My dreams were challenged. My desire was tested, and I just wasn't prepared. And so what was interesting is after I quit, I took a 2-year break, and I went and served an LDS mission in Spain, and I learned a lot of these tools, a lot of the P-squared mindset that I was talking about on those 2 years. It took me 2 years to really grasp it and understand it. Hopefully it will take your listeners just minutes, if not seconds, to get it, because you can. But what's interesting is once I fell 40 feet, I was up on some scaffolding and I fell 40 feet in between seasons. I came back, I played a season, and I did get in, and I played 2 downs. And so I got to taste the sweetness of success. I got to see what it was like to be on the first team, to hold hands and to be on the field and just to smell it and take it in, and that fresh cut grass and the sweat from your equipment and everything. It's just amazing, right? And the sun coming down, the crowds up in the stands. It was just magical. And as leaders, what we're trying to do is trying to get people to play this game called life, not just to get them to the stadium, not just to get them on the sideline, but to get them onto the playing field of life. I think that's what a real leader is to get them to play this game of life. And so as I fell 40 feet and I broke my back, I had a decision to make. I could quit again, or I could get back up and dream new dreams. And so I believe that experience that happened a few years prior to me falling 40 feet really gave me the catalyst to help me get through this experience. Because I'm telling you, 40 feet, my dreams of playing football, done in an instant.
Very common question people ask me, because I talk about going back to center.
Yeah.
Right. My philosophy is stop, drop, and roll. You tried it when you were falling 40 feet. Mm-hmm. I believe that when we're in ego-based consciousness, our mind, body, and soul are on fire. Mm-hmm. So I have a philosophy of getting back to center. Mm-hmm. I stop, I drop everything down to center, and I roll in this trajectory that I want to be in towards the goal that I have. Trying not to waste too much time in anger, fear, frustration, anxiety, the need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, all the ego-based emotions. You're an expert at going back to center. You have the ability every day to look in that mirror, and the first thought that you have is, oh shit, haven't come at the right place at the perfect time yet, right?
Yeah.
And I wake up in the morning pinching myself.
Yeah.
Right. I just have to be honest. Not of any like nani. Like I'm looking at you going, yeah, I may not be as good looking as Griff, but I got my own 4 kids and my own beautiful wife.
That's right.
And I wake up and I'm like, I feel better and better every day. Like I am the luckiest. I'm like a Jewish leprechaun. Like I don't know what I did, right?
Yeah.
But I can see like what I put myself in your position. To go back to center, I wake up and be like, all right, I got a long chore to be able to walk my daughter down the aisle or to run without it being weary or whatever it is. I got shit to deal with inside me.
Yeah.
But externally, I'm pretty damn lucky.
You are.
How do you go back to center so quickly? Because I know you must face, because I face demons every day, and I got a lot of shit going my direction physically. You have a physical manifestation that you have to look at every day. How do you go back to center?
Yeah, and I think that's what I was getting at too, to allude in that is one of the mile markers, and that's why I call them mile markers, is because to get to the top of your Mount Everest is you just can't get to the top. Inch by inch is a cinch, but yard by yard is hard, and you just can't go from the bottom to the top. So many people want to go to the top from the bottom without taking those steps. And one of the mile markers in here is called exiting the sauna of self-pity, because I entered the sauna of self-pity. I entered it. I was walling around in that syrupy, sticky, sauna of self-pity. This is feeling good. Why me? Shaking my fist to God. Why did this have to happen to me? Prime of my life. All those things, right? And so to sit here and to say that, I don't struggle. I absolutely do struggle. But what was interesting, and I'm going to end with this, but what's interesting is they stopped feeding me in the hospital in my bed. I had to get out of my bed to go get fed. And so it took me half an hour to get out of my bed. And they put my body brace on. I had to put my body brace on, and then 2 nurses would help me get out of it. It took me half an hour to get out of my bed. I was rolling down the sterile halls of this hospital, and I'm just crying. Just tears dripping down my cheeks. And I get to the cafeteria, and I get some food on my tray, and I just want to be away from everybody. Because you don't want to be around people. Just get away as far away as I can from people. So I get my tray, and I go as far away as I can in the cafeteria, put my tray down. I'm flavoring my food with my tears. All of a sudden, this tray just plops in front of me, and I'm just angry. I'm looking up. I'm going to tell this guy where to go with some colorful words, if you know what I'm talking about. And I look up, and he looks at me. We glance at each other. He looks at me. He asked me a question that changed my life forever. He's like, "Why are you crying, dude?" I'm like, "What? Why are you crying, dude?" And in his slurred speech, I understood that he was asking me, "Why are you crying?" That question right there snapped me out of it. I looked around, and I'm like, "What's going on here?" And I see a guy over there. He's paralyzed from the neck down. He has a halo on his head, screwed into his skull. He can't even move his arms, and he has to be fed. Another guy right next to him, he's paralyzed from the neck down as well, but he has some movement in his arm. He has a fork taped to his hand, and he's feeding himself. By the time he gets the fork to his mouth, most of the food is gone. This guy sitting across from me, he was lifting weights, and he had an aneurysm in his brain, and he was paralyzed the right side of his body, and he slurred his speech, and he asked me a question that changed my life forever. He's like, "Why are you crying, dude? Why are you crying, dude?" And the irony of is, that guy sitting across from me was a prisoner at the point of the mountain. That prisoner set me free from my prison. And that's what gets me back to center. Wow. Why am I crying, dude?
I know why I'm crying.